Well, I have an interesting story to share with you all that I've been sitting on for about a year now. And I've honestly been pretty hesitant to ever talk about this publicly because it involves the most luxurious camera company in our entire world, Leica.
Like your TV show, what is it called?
Dog Times.
So let's rewind to over a year ago in November 2022. Back then, I purchased this 16-year-old Leica camera, the M8, which is Leica's very first digital M. Now, I purchased this from what I believe was a collector because despite the camera's age, it had less than 800 exposures on it. Yet within just a couple days of using the camera, I did discover that the sensor had a dead pixel column, which is this very faint blue line that is running vertically in these test shots. Now, with the YouTube compression, you may not even be able to see it at all. It was even unnoticeable for me until I started jumping to higher ISOs. So here you can really start to see it at ISO 1250. Now, it's not that big of a deal, I guess. If you know about the M8, you know that it's pretty much unusable beyond ISO 640 anyways. However, once you see the dead pixel column, it's really hard to unsee it no matter what ISO you're at. Now here's the thing, I didn't see this as, oh, the seller did me wrong and sold me a messed up camera. I didn't think he even knew about it. I didn't want to hold him responsible. I mean, it is a 16-year-old camera, and now it's a 17-year-old camera, but back then it was 16 years old. And honestly, if you just keep the ISO at 320 or 160, it is really unnoticeable. But the reality is I was more concerned about it getting worse over time. But because the camera is so old, I did some research of my own online, and from what I could gather with all of the online forum rumors, is that Leica was no longer servicing any of their older digital cameras. Rightfully so. But I did spend $1,800 on the M8 because other than that dead pixel column, it was extremely mint. Again, less than 800 exposures, which is insane for a camera this old. And I just thought, hey man, what is there to lose? I can just simply reach out to Leica and just ask them if there's possibly anything they could do. And much to my surprise, they did get back to me in less than 24 hours, and they said that if I send the camera in, that they could actually still remap the sensor. So on November 10th of 2022, they requested that I send the camera directly to the New Jersey Repair Center, which apparently is the main hub in the United States where Leica services all of the US Leica cameras. So because of all those rumors online, I didn't hesitate to send it in because I was afraid that Leica would close that window of opportunity. So I paid nearly $200 to have it shipped directly to New Jersey, and they did end up getting the camera on November 14th, 2022. Now, the reason why these dates are exact is one, because I kept all the emails for receipts. The dates are important here. So 2 days later, on November 16th, I was told that the camera would be put into a queue, and they provided me with an online link that was supposed to keep me updated on the status of the repair. However, that link never did work. For whatever reason, I don't know why. Every day I tried it, it just said nothing. So after a few weeks of that, the link never was fixed, and so finally on December 1st, I reached out again via email. And this time, I got an estimate for the sensor remap, and it was a $187 estimate. So I said, that's awesome, that's great, and I approved the repair. So the holidays go by, and now we're in January 16th of 2023. It's been 2 months that Leica New Jersey has had the camera, and I still had no updates on the status of that pixel remap because the repair link remained broken. So I reached out again via email. The response I got, very promptly I might add, was now a totally brand new estimate. So now that $200 pixel remap magically transformed into a $1,900 repair estimate. As you'll see here, on the new estimate, it says, upon servicing your camera, we found that the sensor could no longer be repaired and would have to be replaced. Please let us know if you'd like to continue with the repair with the revised estimate. And as you can see down here at the bottom, the new revised estimate is a final amount in US dollars, $1,900.60. Obviously, that was more than what I even paid for the camera. And, I just said, hey, that's not worth it. So I swiftly emailed them back and said, no thanks, just send it back. And this is where things get really weird. The Leica Services tech response was this. Hello, Mr. Phillip. I just wanted to inform you that since the sensor has been confirmed as defective, it will not function properly as it did before sending it in due to the sensor going on it. Do what? Now, to me, this email did not make any sense. Maybe it was a failure in communication, lost in translation, I don't know. So I just responded very matter-of-factly and asked, due to what sensor going on it? To which they responded, the sensor came in for pixel mapping, but during the repairs, the sensor died and is no longer functioning. I just wanted to inform you that if we send it back without replacing the sensor, it will not function as it did before sending it in to us. So what this meant to me was the camera was broken, apparently, while in Leica's possession, and yet they wanted me to pay the $1,900 to repair the damage that they did. I mean, I was very confused. You may be confused right now, but obviously also I was a little upset. You know, this was my very first experience with Leica ever, and the M8 was my very first Leica purchase. Granted, I didn't buy this from a Leica dealer. This was a private buy, you know, but either way, like, this whole experience was very confusing and weird to me and stressful. And I had trouble wrapping my brain around this. It was apparent to me that they didn't want to come clean with this. And now with this email, they certainly did not want to take responsibility for whatever happened to the camera while it was in their possession. And if you're subscribed to this channel, then you already know I don't hold anything back. And so this is what I wrote back. I don't connect the dots on how a sensor that had a dead pixel column when I sent it in has now completely died within Leica's possession. Why sit on this for 2 months and now all of a sudden tell me? So the next day, they didn't get back to me until the next day on January 18th, which is my late mother's birthday, by the way. I get this response. Good afternoon, Mr. Phillip. I spoke with my manager regarding the situation of your repair and what happened with your Leica M8 sensor. We understand that the cost to repair your M8 is high, and perhaps more than its value. After speaking with my manager, we would like to offer you the option to replace it with a fully refurbished, excellent condition Leica M10 for $3,500 plus tax. The M10 would also come with a 1-year warranty. This would be in exchange for us keeping your current camera. Please let me know if this offer is something you would like to consider, and I will be happy to assist you. To which I boldly responded, this is in no way an adequate way to resolve this issue. My question for you, the service techs, and your manager is what happened in those 2 months the camera was in Leica's possession. I in no way should be held accountable for whatever happened at the service center. If Leica is no longer equipped to fix this model of camera, it is irresponsible to have me send it in the first place. It is baffling to me that you are attempting to hold me responsible financially for Leica's mistake. This is my first experience with Leica, and it is totally unacceptable. I go on to say Leica either needs to cover the cost to replace the sensor they broke, or they reimburse me the cost of the camera, which I paid $1,725 for. Please let me know how you want to proceed. Now look, I realize that may be a little extreme, maybe a little Karen of me, but I obviously was upset, right? I mean, this whole experience was just bizarre to me. I ended up talking about this in a private Leica Facebook group that I was in at the time, and someone in there gave me a direct connection, an email to a higher up at Leica headquarters over in Wetzlar, Germany. I sent them an email right away, and on the 19th of January, I got a response back from this contact at Leica headquarters. And this is where it gets even more weird. Good morning, Mr. Phillip. Thank you for your email. I understand you are disappointed. However, let me offer a more detailed explanation. We received your camera on November 17. Please understand, November and December are very busy for us with the holidays. Delays do occur. On December 1st, you were sent an estimate which you approved the same day, which, by the way, they never sent me that estimate on their own accord, okay? I had to keep bugging them for that. Anyways, the email went on to say, the estimate is based on inspection of the camera and the reason you sent it in. The dead pixel column. At that point, our technician hasn't opened the camera. This is done during the actual repair once we receive your approval to proceed. Please understand, not all pixels can be remapped, especially on older cameras such as yours. In no way did our technician damage your camera during the pixel remap. You claim that you were told this. Then they tell me, well, the sensor was damaged during the pixel remap. However, this is not indicated on the estimate or anywhere else that I can see. If you have an email from us stating this, please forward it to me. What we did tell you is, and this is literally what was written on the $1,900 estimate that I literally just read to you earlier, they go on to say, this is certainly not an admission of damaging your camera. When the sensor can't be remapped, it must be replaced, which is why you received the second estimate. You declined the repair and asked that we return your camera to you. We took the extra step of offering you a replacement of a newer camera at a very nice discount, as we didn't want you to be without a camera. This is normal procedure. Regarding the repair status link, you need to enter the repair number in the field at the top of the page. Oh, by the way, the link never worked. Okay, anyways, the email goes on to say, if you are certain you don't want to accept our upgrade offer, please let us know and we will return your camera to you unaltered/unrepaired. So this is technically good news when I read this, right? Because now they're saying the camera is not damaged after all. But I definitely forwarded all those emails that I just shared with you, okay? Then it went radio silence. Once I forwarded all the stuff that New Jersey was sending me, it did go quiet for a little while. And I assume they were doing some quick digging around over there at headquarters. And yes, it was discovered that they did, in fact, they being Leica, New Jersey, they did in fact damage my camera. Now this email. Hello, Mr. Phillip. Yes, I certainly can understand the confusion and I apologize for it. This is certainly a training opportunity for my team. We are replacing your sensor free of charge. I just instructed my technician to get started immediately. Please accept my sincere apologies. I promise you, this is not the norm. Thank you for your patience. So obviously this has a happy ending, right? But the whole situation is kind of bizarre, right? I mean, if I would have never been given that email to the person at headquarters, well, who knows how this would have turned out, right? Like, the reality is I would have probably just got back a broken camera, right? Because even the manager of New Jersey did not want to come clean with this. You know, it took the pressure of headquarters, you know, through me to get the facts and the honest response to whatever happened to my camera. I never did actually find out what really happened. I mean, the world may never know. But after that, my camera was sent from Leica, New Jersey to Germany. I did end up getting the M8 back from Germany at the end of March of this year, 2023. So all in all, this was a 4-month debacle. I do still feel like there's a little bit of mystery around this whole thing. But at the end of the day, this whole experience actually made me appreciate Leica as a company even more. Well, I should say it made me appreciate Leica Germany. Leica New Jersey, the jury's still out on this one. But, you know, headquarters really did step in and save the day. And I guess I finally wanted to share this. Well, one, because, you know, I've had enough separation from it now to no longer be like angry about it or anything. I really wanted to make this video because I really am curious on how other people, you all watching this, would interpret this experience and what your take on it is. You know, for a while, Marianne, my wife, you know, her and I had this theory that maybe they wanted to hold on to this specific camera because, you know, outside of that dead pixel issue, it was pretty damn mint. And I think the fact that it had less than 800 exposures, I think, you know, it was a testament to like how unique of a find it was, maybe. You know, it's probably not as conspiratorial as that. You know, it probably just simply is that someone obviously made a mistake, right? And for whatever reason, they just didn't want to take ownership of whatever happened to my camera. You know, we will never know the whole reality of the situation. It's also like, what Marianne brought up is like that phrase, this has been a learning experience. Well, that's really just corporate lingo for, yeah, we fucked up. Wetzlar's response to the whole thing, you know, once I helped them dig through the weeds and shared all those emails, you know, it revealed to me the true integrity of the Leica company overall. And here's the reality of it. I think Wetzlar were able to identify the simple fact that, look, we can't send the product back to the customer in a worse condition than it was when we received it, you know? And Germany acknowledged that 100%. And, you know, they did literally everything they could to make it right. As odd of an experience as it was, you know, it ultimately, as you can see, it had a very positive outcome. Look, I've been using this thing since it's been back in March. I've put out multiple videos on it. All things are good. There's no dead pixel column. All is good, right? I think most of you would say, yeah, that's exactly what they should have done. However, I ended up leaving that Facebook group where I got the contact from because there were some users in that group that were implying that I was being too demanding or that it was crazy of me to expect them to fix such an old camera in the first place. But I left the group because I get frustrated very easily and I don't feel like having arguments online. But to me, it was like they're missing the reality of what's going on here. You know, like for instance, let's say you bought a used Tesla, right? And then you take it to the Tesla store because like something's wrong with the tire, right? Or something. You're like, okay, hey, we expect you to fix this tire for $200. And then while it's at the Tesla store, they have it for 2 months. And then you come to find out that, oh, they broke the computer that makes the Tesla run, but they want you to pay for it because, well, it's your car, right? Like there's a disconnect there, you know? And I even said, hey, just send it back then, right? But they wouldn't do that. So obviously something very serious happened to the camera. And here's the craziest part. When I first got that new estimate for $1,900, I was like, well, I have insurance. Let me see if they'll cover it. But then my insurance company was even like, you know, they were looking at everything and they got back to me and they're like, no, this is Leica's responsibility. We're not gonna pay you anything to get this. I'm not making this video to throw Leica under the bus. It's not a hit piece. It's not, because honestly, the whole experience made me like Leica even more. It did not deter me at all from, you know, buying future Leica cameras. In fact, you know, if you saw any of my videos on this specific camera, I've fallen in love with using the rangefinder, but that's because of the camera, right? And the experience of using this instrument, right? But that whole interaction with them and the way Wetzlar handled it, it really did make me want to continue to buy their products. Because even when Germany stepped in, you know, they could have just simply stopped at replacing the sensor. You know, they could have just said, hey, look, we fixed the problem, Leica New Jersey broke your sensor, and wiped their hands clean of it and send it back. But they did so much more than that. They did a full CLA on the whole camera. They recalibrated the rangefinder. They even put a brand new leather covering on the outside. This is what I mean. They went above and beyond to make sure that I was a satisfied customer when technically I wasn't even a customer of them. I'm just a customer of their product that I bought from a private seller. Because I sit here and think about what would other camera companies do? Like what would Sony have done if I contacted them about a 16-year-old camera if they could do a pixel wrap? Honestly, Sony would have probably never even responded to that email, right? And maybe Leica's wishing they would have never responded to my first email as well, who knows? Because I do think that someone at Leica New Jersey got a pretty good talking to after all of this. The company took a little bit of a hit, but they ate it, and they ate it so proudly almost, you know? Because to me, when I look at this, I go, wow, Leica New Jersey was kind of trying to be like this big bad company, you know, like the way I would expect other camera companies to respond. Whereas Leica Germany, I feel like they responded to it in a more like mom and pop small business attitude, which is crazy because they're the headquarters, right? They're the belly of the beast. And then the simple fact that they say that they're still learning, you know, I mean, next year, Leica will be 100 years old and they're still admitting to, you know, making mistakes and having to learn. And I love that, because if you guys are on this channel, you know that I myself and I am always in a constant state of evolution, and I encourage you all to be in constantly evolving. But at the end of the day, like, they do care about the people using their cameras. Like, they care about the reality of photography. And that, I think, says a lot to the legacy of what they are. But again, please let me know what you think about all this, because this was certainly the whole point of making this video. I want to hear what your all's take is on this, certainly if you have any experience with Leica yourself. All I request is that you leave out the obvious comment, which I know I was crazy to buy a 16-year-old digital Leica camera. Okay, I get that. But if you haven't seen my other videos on the M8, specifically the one where I talk about why I bought this camera in the first place, I'll leave links to all of those down in the description below. Thank you for watching, and if you are new here and you were intrigued or enjoyed my transparency, then I encourage you to hit that subscribe button and do check out my entire backlog of videos here on the YouTube platform, because this is what I do. Anyways, at the end of the day, I do want to give a shout out and thank you to whoever that was in that Facebook group that gave me that email. I honestly don't know who they were. I can't recall. At that time, I was, you know, seeing red. So I want to give a shout out to them. And then also I do want to thank the folks at Leica for handling this and standing up and taking ownership of the problem. And maybe it was their goal to make sure they got a customer, but they did. You know, that's the reality of it. They did. For me, that was what happened there. The results of that, beyond all the weirdness, ultimately they hooked me, right? Like, that did it for me, because I love a company that doesn't act like a huge corporation, that they are, right? They really are, but at the same time, you hear people talk about all the time, oh, Leica's very small. And that to me, now I see it. It's like, oh yes, they're even operating on a much local level, right? And I just love that. You guys know, if you've seen enough of my videos, you know how much I love that. I adore that, right? Like, let's keep it as real as possible. So that ultimately, I guess, is my main testimonial about it all. Okay, anyways, thanks for watching, and for now, that is a wrap. Thank you.
I learned using a Leica on the streets. It taught me to understand human nature. It's engaged my curiosity.
I've only waited 4 months to get this bad boy back. And here she is, right here. Woo, doggy. Look at that. Wow, custom bags. That's how you know it's legit.